So one really interesting way of exporting out that is very popular inside of Capture One with people who work in Capture One and work with retouchers, um, and have a whole workflow that has to deal with going to production and depending on what the clients are doing and stuff like that, is basically doing this thing called packaging as an EIP. And what an EIP file is basically a zip file that's a Capture One specific zip file that allows you to go in and export out the original file with all of the Capture One adjustments applied and the data on it. So basically the Capture One data file goes out with it that basically says this is the way it's supposed to be processed and stuff like that. A lot of people say that it's not a great idea to give your client an original file, but in some instances that is the workflow that the client actually wants, especially if you're working with magazines. I've heard that there are architectural photographers who have to do that with their architectural clients because of however it is that they're publishing out what they need to do. So in these instances, it's part of what is negotiated when you bid the job and when the job is paid for and stuff like that. So without further ado, let me show you how to do this. So let's say I'm going to go ahead and send out this image and a variant of it. I'm going to go ahead and send the Photoshop file with it. So I've got both of these selected. I will basically go up to File, and I will choose to go to Export, and I will say go ahead and export original files. And when I do this, instead of opening up the whole export dialog, it opens up this specific thing here. One, I can choose where I want it to go. Two, I can go ahead and export out whatever I need this to be. So, for example, I'm going to create a folder called Batter. I've been hired by the architect who redid this, and I'm sending it out there. So that's what I'm calling the the actual that's the subfolder. But I'm going to go ahead and just grab this and remove it, and I'm going to go ahead and choose here. Nope, that's not it. So sample path, it shows me it's going to the desktop. If I put the subfolder here and click this, so basically it's going to be going to the subfolder on the desktop. So in this instance, I'm going to choose a folder. I could actually name a folder on here if I want to. And once I've got this going, I can go in here and do file naming if it's needed, depending on what the client wants. So for example, if I'm going to leave this alone here, something silly, Milt Jackson. But in this instance, I'm going to go ahead and grab that and go in here, and we will and the job name could be also in here too. And so that's basically what it's going to be naming it based on the counter, 2-digit counter. And it gives me an example of what that is. If I want to make sure that it looks a little bit better, I can go ahead and add a second, underscore there. And then I'm going to go right here and choose to pack it as an EIP. And I also want to make sure I do this include adjustment. So if I choose pack as EIP, it automatically does the include adjustments. But if I didn't do that and say turn that off, it'd just be exporting out just a standard raw file. If I choose to do the include adjustments and or just click the pack as EIP, it's going to show me all of the processing that has been done to the image. So then I'll go ahead and just export the two originals. And it says it's partially completed. Some files were not exported. And it'll tell me why after a minute. So basically, I'm going to go ahead and go to the desktop and take a look at where that went. And you'll see here's the Battersea Power Plant. And when I open this up inside here, you can see here's the EIP and the Capture One files that went with it. And if I go ahead and say to go in here and say, yeah, so basically now I can choose to open this up with Capture One, and then I will actually see what the actual files are inside of there if I open that up. So that's just a quick way of creating an all-in-one package that can be given to a client ready to go, because it's the package itself. This also can be imported straight into Capture One, which will bring in the raw file for them and all that stuff. So a quick and powerful way to export things out. Now, the reason why I got that error message, just so you know, is I tried to send it out with a PSD and it didn't like that. So if I had had an actual variant that I had created and then had it been processed differently, then I wouldn't have gotten that export error. So I can also do a right click on the image itself and choose export straight from here, export original files. So once again, if I've got, let's not have these selected. So I have just this image selected. Let's quickly make a variant of it. I'll create a new variant real quick. With this variant here, you can see that the variant is not synchronized completely. So now I'll go ahead and go to the original file. So I've got the original selected. I click copy. I'm going to go to the variant. I'm going to go ahead and apply all the adjustments there. Then I'm going to go ahead and quickly go in here and just make this one a black and white. So go in here, enable black and white, and black and white's applied. I'm going to leave it just as is. Obviously, you could have gone in and played around with the blues a little bit, and all right, so I've got that where I want it to be as black and white. So now what I can do is click this and this together, and I believe if I export this as an EIP, this should give me both of them together, and it does. You can tell because the size. Oh, that's it. Go in here. Here's the sizing. All this. I'm just going to create a new folder for it. Go ahead and export it, and then export is completed. And then if I went and looked at that export that was just done, you'll notice that this EIP is a little bit larger in size because it contains the variant in here too. So there you go. That's a quick way of exporting out the EIP from the variants.